I thought I was part of the family. I thought I was one of them. But when the wedding invitations went out, my name wasn't on the list. No call, no explanation, just nothing. My own brother was getting married, and I was deliberately excluded. I kept telling myself there had to be a mistake. But when I saw the pictures online, smiling faces, champagne toasts, a perfect day without me, I packed my bags and disappeared on a quiet holiday, hoping to forget it ever happened. But fate doesn't like to be ignored. While I sipped wine on a rainy coast and tried to mend my pride, secrets started unraveling back home. Lies, affairs, betrayals. The picture-perfect marriage began to crack, and I had no idea that my absence would be the spark that set everything on fire. I didn't find out from a call. Not a text. Not even a careless family group message. I found out about my brother's wedding the same way strangers did, on social media. There it was. A grainy but joyful video posted by our cousin captured mid-toast. My brother, Julian, dressed in a pale gray suit I'd never seen before, stood next to his bride, Alina, raising a glass. My mother sat at a front table, eyes wet with pride. My father laughed, my sister clapped, and me? I wasn't even in the frame, because I wasn't there. At first, I thought I'd missed something. Maybe I had. Maybe it was a small ceremony. Maybe they eloped. Maybe my invite got lost, or someone had planned a surprise, or I don't know. I kept refreshing, scrolling, trying to make it make sense. But as more posts rolled in, people tagging locations, thanking the couple, raving about the reception food, it became painfully clear. Everyone was there. Everyone but me. I stared at a photo of Julian and Alina under an arch of white roses, holding hands and grinning like they'd just solved all of life's riddles. I'd helped him pick that watch. He was wearing the one I gave him for his last birthday. Still, I waited. I waited for the call that would explain everything. For someone, anyone, to say it was all a mistake. Hours passed, then days. Nothing came. When I finally called my mother, her voice caught slightly, like she'd expected the conversation and dreaded it. She said it was complicated, and then shifted to talking about the weather. I asked her outright, why wasn't I invited? Her silence answered me more clearly than anything else could have. She only said it was their decision, and then added something about not wanting to stir things up. Their decision. Julian's decision. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I booked a trip. I chose a quiet coastal town several hours away. No nightlife, no distractions, just cliffs, wind, and space. I didn't even tell anyone where I was going. I packed light and left without a goodbye. I told myself it wasn't a retreat. It was a clean break. No more trying to belong where I clearly wasn't welcome. At first, the solitude was soothing. I read old novels, took long walks, cooked for one, let the silence fill the places where conversations used to live. But silence can be a cruel companion when you're wounded. It doesn't lie to you. It repeats the truth until you're forced to hear it. They didn't want you there. Then came the message. It was a week into my trip. My phone buzzed with a notification from a number I didn't recognize. Just one line. Something's happened. You should come back. No name. No explanation. Just that, I froze. I stared at the message for what felt like an hour. Then another one came. This time from my sister, Anna. Julian and Alina are not doing well. It's bad. I didn't respond, not yet. I just kept reading her words over and over, not doing well. After only a week, the perfect wedding, the smiling faces, the expensive floral arch, all of it. Cracking already? I didn't feel satisfaction. Not immediately. What I felt was suspicion. And beneath it, something darker. The quiet thrill of knowing that something wasn't right. And maybe it never had been. Maybe the wedding wasn't the beginning of a fairy tale. Maybe it was the cover-up of a disaster that had already started. And maybe, just maybe, my exclusion hadn't been about me at all. Maybe it had been about hiding something I wasn't supposed to see. I didn't rush back. That's probably what surprises people the most when they hear this part. But when you've been pushed aside once, You don't run toward the same people who pushed you. You don't trust the urgency in their voices, especially when it only shows up after things fall apart. Instead, I stayed one more day by the sea. I walked the cliff trail in silence, my phone buzzing in my pocket like a heartbeat I was trying to ignore. I wanted to feel strong, detached. I wanted to believe that I didn't care, but I did care. I cared that my sister had finally reached out, that she sounded afraid, that I could hear something cracking between the words she typed. It wasn't just marital drama, it was deeper, messier. The next morning, I packed my things. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I just drove. 5 hours on the road with nothing but the sound of tires on asphalt and my own thoughts gnawing at me. When I arrived in the city, I didn't go to my parents' house or Julian's apartment. I went to Anna's. She opened the door with a look I'll never forget. Tired, relieved, but also guilty. "You look like you haven't slept," I said. "I haven't," she whispered. "Come in." Her apartment smelled like reheated food and anxiety. There were empty cups, laundry half folded, and a wine glass tipped on its side by the sink. "I didn't know if you'd come," she said, leading me into the living room. "You didn't invite me to the wedding either," I replied, and I hadn't meant it to sound bitter. "But it did." Anna winced. "I wanted to. I swear I did." "Then why didn't you?" She sat down, burying her face in her hands. "Because Alina didn't want you there. And Julian went along with it." That landed harder than I expected. "Why? What did I do to her?" Anna looked up at me slowly. "You don't know?" That sentence chilled me, because it meant there was something. I shook my head. "No, I don't." She hesitated. Then, "There's a rumor that you dated her. A long time ago. Before she met Julian." I laughed. Out loud. "That's insane." "Did you?" "No, we were never more than acquaintances. We met once at a party Julian brought me to. We barely spoke. Nothing happened." Anna stared at me. "Then why would she lie?" "I don't know," I said, but I was already thinking about that night. The party. Alina's laugh. Her oddly intense questions about Julian. The way she'd lingered near me even when he was in the room. Had she twisted that brief moment into something else? Anna continued. "Julian found a message. On her old phone. From you. From back then. I never messaged her. Well, it was your name. Your number. And it was flirty." I stood up, angry now. So they used that to justify cutting me out of the biggest day of my brother's life? They didn't even ask me? Anna's eyes filled with tears. "Julian didn't want to believe it, but she insisted you were trouble, that you'd make a scene, that you'd ruin things." And he believed her. He chose her version over mine without ever hearing mine. I sat back down, stunned. "And now it's falling apart." Anna nodded. "There's more. She's been different. Controlling. Distant. Last night, Julian found something in her emails. He won't tell me what it is, but it's bad. He's staying with Mom and Dad. Alina's threatening to go public with something." "What does that mean? Go public with what?" Anna swallowed. "I don't know, but whatever it is, he looked broken." I leaned forward, the anger slowly cooling into something colder. "Do they know I'm back?" She shook her head. Stood. "Good. Don't tell them. Not yet." Because now I wanted answers. I wanted to see for myself what Julian had become, what Alina was hiding, and why I'd been erased from a story I helped build. And deep down, I had a new suspicion, one that made my skin crawl. Maybe I wasn't just excluded from the wedding. Maybe I was framed. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on Anna's worn couch, eyes fixed on the ceiling, listening to the distant sound of the city outside her window. My mind replayed every interaction I'd ever had with Alina, searching for something, anything, that could have been twisted, misremembered, or worse, faked. The idea that she could lie so convincingly about something so easily disproven should have scared me. But instead, it made something inside me ignite. If she was willing to distort reality to erase me, what else was she hiding? The next morning, I drove to my parents' house without warning. I needed to see Julian face to face. I needed to look my brother in the eye and ask him what kind of man he'd become. My mother opened the door, her eyes puffy, her voice soft. He's upstairs. He's not himself. I stepped past her without another word. Julian was in his childhood bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed like a ghost trapped in a memory. The same posters on the wall. The same bookshelf we built together when we were 16. And yet the man sitting there looked like someone I barely recognized. He looked up at me, surprised, then ashamed. "I guess you heard," he said quietly. "Didn't sit down. I heard you believed something about me without asking if it was true." He ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't want to. I thought I was doing the right thing. You didn't even call." He flinched. "I know. I screwed up." I waited. He looked at the floor. "Alina said you crossed a line." He muttered. "She showed me a screenshot, a message from your number years ago. It said something like, 'You could do better.' She claimed you meant it about me." That message never happened. He finally looked up. "I know that now." "Why now?" He didn't answer right away. He reached for his laptop and turned it around so I could see the screen. An open email window, dozens of messages. One folder caught my eye. It was titled, "Backup, Do Not Delete." Julian clicked into it. Inside were emails between Alina and a man named Greg. Messages dating back almost a year. Some of them romantic, some angry, all of them inappropriate. He clicked one in particular and scrolled. There, in the middle of a long thread, was a forwarded image, a screenshot of a fake message from me. Attached was a note that read, "Think this'll be enough to keep him out?" Greg's response, "If your fiancé buys it, he's dumber than I thought." I stared at the screen, cold all over. "She made it up," Julian said quietly. "All of it. She didn't want you at the wedding because she was afraid you'd see through her. She said you were too observant. I thought she meant you'd be judgmental. Turns out she meant you were dangerous to her lies. I couldn't speak. She's been in contact with Greg the whole time. They work together. He's a photographer. He helped plan our engagement shoot. I didn't even notice. She kept it hidden so well." He buried his face in his hands. "I don't even know who I married." I finally sat down, stunned. "What are you going to do?" He looked at me slowly. "She's threatening to expose me. She says she has recordings of me yelling, of one time I broke a lamp during an argument. She says if I leave, she'll make me look violent, dangerous." I shook my head. That's textbook manipulation. "She's got influence. Her family's wealthy. She knows people. If she goes public with any of this, especially if she spins it the right way, I could lose everything." That's when I saw it. Julian wasn't just heartbroken. He was scared. "She's not just cruel," I said. "She's calculated." He nodded. I stood up again. "We're not letting her get away with this." Julian looked at me, broken and unsure. "What can we do?" I stared at the screen again, at the emails, at the threads, at the sick web she'd woven behind his back, behind my back. And then I said something I hadn't planned to say, something that felt like it had been waiting for its moment to surface. "We fight back." Because this wasn't just about being excluded anymore. This was about being silenced, and I wasn't staying silent any longer. I didn't expect to see her that day. I thought I'd have time to plan, to strategize with Julian, to comb through the emails and build some kind of defense before confronting her. But that's not how these stories go, is it? The moment you try to take control, chaos walks through the front door wearing lipstick and a smile. She arrived at my parents' house around noon. I was in the kitchen, trying to convince Julian to forward everything to a lawyer, when I heard the familiar sound of heels on tile. My mother's voice followed, anxious, pleading. Then came hers. "Oh, don't be dramatic, Helen. I just need to speak to my husband." I walked into the hallway just as Alina entered the house like she owned it. She didn't flinch when she saw me, didn't blink, just tilted her head and said, "Oh, you're back." Like I was a stray dog that had wandered home. Julian moved beside me, tense, silent. Alina's eyes flicked between us. "I see you've been catching up." He didn't respond. She turned to me instead. "This is family business. You don't belong in it." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Funny. That's exactly what you said before the wedding." She narrowed her eyes but didn't rise to it. "You've made yourself useful, I'm sure, stirring things up, twisting facts." Julian stepped forward. "Stop." She looked at him with faux innocence. "Stop what, sweetheart?" "Stop pretending you're the victim." That landed. For just a second, her composure cracked. Her lips tightened. Then she turned and walked into the living room like she needed a stage. My mother hovered in the doorway, nervously wringing her hands. I followed Alina, not because I wanted a fight, but because I wanted her to know I wasn't afraid of one. She stood in front of the fireplace, arms crossed, as if she were preparing to deliver a TED Talk. "I've already spoken to my lawyer," she began. "If you try to frame this as abuse, Julian, it won't end well for you." He looked at her like she was a stranger. "You lied to me. You manipulated me. You lied about my own brother." "I protected us," she snapped. "I protected our image." "No," I cut in. "You protected your control." She turned on me. "You think this is about you? You were a complication, a risk. You've always been reckless. You would have made the wedding about you somehow." "That's a lie, and you know it." Her expression darkened. "It doesn't matter. Perception is reality. You should know that by now." I stepped closer, voice low. "We have the emails, the messages, the forwarded screenshot to Greg. We know you faked it." Her jaw clenched. "Those won't hold up." "But they'll cause questions," I said. "Enough questions to ruin the perfect narrative you've built." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Julian said, "You need to leave." Alina turned to him, something cruel flickering in her eyes. "If I go, I take everything with me. Every connection, every favor, every illusion." Julian stood tall. "Then take it. I'd rather lose everything than live another day in this lie." She stepped toward him slowly. "Be careful, Julian. You're not built for a scandal. You're weak." That's when my mother stepped into the room. Quiet, firm, trembling with anger I'd never seen in her before. "You don't get to speak to my son like that," she said. "Not in my house." Alina laughed once, sharp and joyless. "You all think you're so righteous, but you're just small people playing big games." She turned to me. "And you, this whole performance of being the wounded brother, it's pathetic. You were always second best." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Julian stepped in front of me. "Then why were you so afraid of him being at the wedding?" That silenced her. Because the answer was obvious. She wasn't afraid I'd ruin the wedding. She was afraid I'd see the cracks before anyone else did. She left in silence. No threats, no tears. Just the cold click of the front door closing behind her. My mother sat down on the couch and covered her face. Julian sat beside her, quietly broken, and I stood there, the air still humming from everything that had been said, and everything that hadn't. But I knew one thing for sure now. This wasn't over, she wasn't finished, and I wasn't done fighting. 2 weeks passed. In that time, Alina disappeared from our lives as quickly as she had forced her way into them. She moved out of Julian's apartment, deleted her social media accounts, and hired a crisis PR manager. We found out because she accidentally emailed Julian a copy of a press release draft meant for a lifestyle blog. It painted her as a woman escaping emotional neglect, seeking peace after being demonized by toxic in-laws. It made me sick to read. Julian showed it to me without a word. We didn't even need to discuss it. We both knew what she was doing. Preemptive narrative control. She was planning to spin her exit into martyrdom. Cry before you're accused. Position yourself as the wounded one. We'd seen her do it before. Now she was trying it on a bigger stage, But we had something she didn't count on, the full story. I'd spent the last 10 days compiling everything, screenshots, timestamps, emails, inconsistencies in her stories. I didn't plan on blasting it online. That wasn't the point. But I needed something undeniable, not just for Julian, for myself. Because when someone tries to erase you from your own family, the worst part isn't the betrayal. It's the gaslighting, the slow erosion of your memory, the suggestion that maybe you misunderstood, maybe you were too sensitive, maybe you made it all up. So I needed proof. Tangible, cold, indisputable proof. Anna helped me. She'd always kept her distance from the marriage, said something about Alina never quite feeling real. She confessed that after the wedding she felt complicit for not saying anything, for not questioning the lies. Helping now was her way of making peace with that guilt. Julian still struggled, not just with what had happened, but with what it said about him. That he'd let it happen. That he'd handed someone else the power to alienate his own brother, and then called it love. "Do you think I'm weak?" he asked me one night. We were sitting on the back porch of our parents' house. It was late, and the world had finally gone quiet. "I think you were in pain," I said. "And people in pain will accept comfort, even when it's poisoned." He looked away. "I should have known." "You did. You just didn't listen." We sat there for a long time. In the end, it wasn't a confrontation that changed things. It was silence. Alina vanished into her curated version of events. She never responded to the evidence, never admitted what she did. But she stopped showing up. She let her silence speak for her. And maybe that was the most telling thing of all. Sometimes, the guilty don't defend themselves. They retreat and let the world forget. And the world does forget, if you let it. But we didn't let it. We didn't shout it from the rooftops. We didn't turn it into a scandal. We lived our truth, out loud, without shame. And slowly, that truth grew louder than her lies. Julian started therapy. So did I. My relationship with my parents is still bruised, but healing. They admitted they'd been too passive, too eager to keep the peace, even when the cost was one of their own. As for me, I found strength I didn't know I had. There was a moment early on when I stood alone on that rainy cliffside, wondering if maybe I deserved to be left out. If maybe I had done something wrong. That doubt had taken root so fast. But now I know better. Sometimes being excluded isn't a punishment. It's a warning. A sign that you're not meant to be part of a performance designed to hide rot behind roses. I wasn't missing from the wedding. I was spared from it. And while they posed for pictures under a fake sky, I was finding my way back to the truth. Back. To myself. It's strange how the absence of one event, a wedding, ended up revealing everything that was broken underneath. Sometimes the most painful thing isn't being left out. It's realizing why you were. It's been 6 months since it all collapsed. Julian is rebuilding, slowly, cautiously. We talk more now than we have in years. Not just about what happened, but about who we are without all the noise. Without pretending, our family isn't whole, but it's honest. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. I still think about that invitation I never received. Not with bitterness anymore, just as a marker. A line in the sand between who I was and who I've become, because being excluded didn't break me. It woke me up.